You drift, no destination, no time, just a slow movement outward, as if the universe itself is breathing you along, exhale after exhale, a quiet rhythm that has pulsed since before memory. There is no sound here, only stillness. The stars are distant and delicate, scattered like glowing pollen on the skin of night, and in this great stillness, something unseen is at work. You don't feel it the way you feel wind or warmth, but it's there, a soft pressure, not against your skin but against space itself. This is dark energy, not energy you can bottle or burn, not darkness like shadow or night. It is not made of particles you can touch or see, and yet it is more present than any single star. Dark energy is the quiet sculptor of distance, the subtle weaver of separation. With it, the cosmos expands. Without it, everything might fall inward again, collapsing like a held breath finally released. But the breath continues. The space between galaxies is not empty. It is not silent either. Not truly. In its emptiness, it hums with potential, with presence. Galaxies move away from each other, not because they choose to, not because they are flung, but because the very fabric of space stretches, like dough rising slowly in a warm room. It stretches and carries them with it. This is not motion through space. It is space itself unfolding. You imagine standing between two distant lanterns, floating in the void. They remain fixed in place, and yet each hour they grow farther apart, not because they've taken steps, but because the ground between them is stretching. This is how the universe moves, not with speed, but with scale, not with effort, but with quiet inevitability. The force behind this, if force is even the right word, is mysterious. We call it dark energy, but in truth the name is a placeholder for wonder. It fills the universe like silence between notes, like breath between words. It is not something we see, but something we infer from the way galaxies drift, from the way space swells. You hover in the dark, watching galaxies glisten like dew in early morning. They recede, slowly as if remembering a promise to depart. The farther away they are, the faster they seem to move, not because they are hurrying, but because the space between you and them has more room to grow. Like paint stretched thin over a balloon, the further it expands, the more each fleck pulls away. What then is dark energy? No one knows for certain. Some say it is a property of space itself, that emptiness carries within it a kind of latent tension, a built-in urge to expand. Others imagine it as a new kind of field, like gravity or electromagnetism, whispering quietly across the cosmos. Some theories speak of quintessence, of shifting, dynamic forces that wax and wane, but none have yet pierced the veil. What we have are clues. What we have is movement. You drift, and the galaxies drift too. The universe is not only expanding, it is accelerating. This perhaps is the greatest surprise. For centuries we imagined gravity would eventually pull everything back, a slow reversal of the Big Bang. But that is not the path we walk. Instead, space races forward ever faster, a balloon not slowing but speeding up as it stretches. A future of vastness, of coldness, of increasing solitude awaits, a lonely promise written in the laws of physics. And yet, there is beauty in that promise, not tragedy, not loss, just transformation. Even now, in this moment of drifting, you feel the grace of it. The stars around you are not hurrying, they are not anxious, they are patient, persistent. They do not fear distance, they shine for what is near them, and then shine still more brightly for what is far. The story of dark energy is the story of the unseen influence, the background breath. It is the invisible current beneath the cosmic ocean. Without it, galaxies would cluster too tightly, stars would clump and collide. But because of it, there is space to grow, to move, to exist. You close your eyes, though sight is not what matters here. You listen, not with ears, but with imagination. You feel not with skin, but with awareness. Out here you begin to understand the universe, not as an object, but as a process. Not as a place, but as a becoming. Everything is stretching. Everything is unfolding. Not in a rush, not in a crash, but in a whisper. You are part of that whisper, drifting gently outward with it. From Earth's early questions to today's precision telescopes, dark energy remains elusive, and yet, in its mystery, it teaches patience. It teaches humility. We do not yet understand it, but we know that it holds the shape of the future. It sketches what will be. It stretches the ink of galaxies across an ever-widening page. It is both painter and canvas. You take a breath, slow, steady. Somewhere ahead, there will be more to understand. New theories, new insights, new names for this ancient invisible companion. But for now you float with it, letting the stillness teach you, letting the hush become your home. The weight of silence deepens as you float farther into the dark, and gravity, the gentle sculptor of all things, reaches for you, not with hands, but with curves in space itself. It beckons without words, a pull that cradles stars, planets, and thoughts alike. You drift through the arms of galaxies, each one a swirling whisper of light drawn inward by this unseen thread. Here in the velvet dark, gravity feels like memory, ancient, quiet, always near. It holds no color, makes no sound, yet it shapes the dance of everything that moves. You watch it work from afar, as entire clusters of galaxies sway together in a slow cosmic ballet, mass calling to mass, the way water finds water, the way stories find their way home. It wasn't always this quiet. There was a time when the universe's expansion was slowing. Gravity was louder then, a roaring lullaby echoing through newborn space. After the Big Bang, the cosmos swelled rapidly, but gravity pushed back, tugging gently at the seams, as if asking the universe to stay close, to not rush off into the unknown too fast. You can almost feel that moment still humming in the background, a cosmic nostalgia, when every particle had a counterpart, and everything was closer, warmer, more intimate. Imagine two galaxies, drawn toward each other across millions of light years. They spiral closer, not because they choose to, but because gravity is patient. It waits, it persists, it never forgets. On Earth, gravity presses you softly to the ground, a constant embrace you rarely notice until you fall, or float, or dream. But in space, it's a thread you can follow across the ages. You pass by a massive elliptical galaxy, its stars glowing with quiet age. Its shape is smooth, rounded, as if time and gravity have polished it down to something simple, like a river stone left in the cosmic stream. Clusters surround you now, huge gatherings of galaxies held together by gravity's long arm. They drift as one, like schools of galaxies swimming through dark oceans of nothingness. In the spaces between them, vast and almost empty, gravity still reaches. Even the void is woven with its invisible stitching, and yet something has changed. The pull that once slowed the universe is fading, drowned beneath the hush of something stronger. You feel it in the widening silence, expansion speeding up, slipping away from gravity's once iron grip. There is something else now, something not yet seen but deeply felt. A dark energy, like a quiet wind pushing against the tide. It whispers of acceleration, stretching space so fast that gravity begins to dim, not in strength, but in reach. You float through this balance of forces, gravity pulling in, dark energy pushing out. The universe, once a toddler stumbling outward, now sprints with widening strides. But gravity doesn't vanish. It lingers where mass collects. Black holes form at the centers of galaxies, drawing in light, time, and matter with an intimacy only gravity can offer. Stars are born from clouds compressed by it, then shine for eons under its quiet watch. You picture the early universe, hot, dense, loud with light. Gravity was the great organizer. Without it, there would be no stars, no galaxies, no you. You move slower now, not from wariness, but from reverence. Gravity has shaped your journey, guided your spiral through this narrative of space. And as you pass another pair of galaxies, tangled together in slow collision. You wonder how long gravity can keep calling things home. There's a kind of sadness in its fading power, like watching an old lighthouse dim while the sea keeps rising. Still, you find comfort in its presence. Gravity is not gone. It remains wherever matter lingers, holding moons to planets, planets to stars, and stars to the stories they shine upon. Look at your own body, atoms held tight by gravity's whispers. Your bones, your blood, your breath, each a quiet echo of the universe's mass folded inward. You are not separate from this force. You are made of it, curved by it, part of its poem. Far ahead, clusters are growing more distant, space between them expanding like breath held too long. You sense that gravity cannot hold them together forever. In time, each group of galaxies may find itself alone in a widening void. But maybe that solitude, too, has purpose. Maybe gravity's retreat makes room for something new to emerge, something we don't yet have words for. You feel a soft longing stir, a desire to ask gravity what it remembers of the beginning, and what it hopes for in the end. Perhaps it would answer not in words but in spirals, and orbits, and the weight of things falling toward each other. You pause here, let yourself float. Let the silence grow deeper, carried not by gravity now, but by thought. What does it mean that the force once strong enough to sculpt the cosmos is being slowly overruled by something we do not yet understand? You feel no fear in the question, only wonder, only the warmth of a mystery waiting patiently in the dark. You are floating now, quietly, in a place that has no edges, no walls, no ceilings, just an endless fabric of space, smooth as silk and older than memory. All around you, stars blink softly, like candle flames seen through thick glass. Their light takes time, whole lifetimes, to reach you, and in that time, the universe changes. You don't feel it, not in your body, but if you close your eyes, you might sense something subtle, a stretch, a slow inhale of space itself. Not a gust of wind, not a sudden pull, but a tide, a cosmic tide, one that rises without water, one that moves without waves. It is the distance between galaxies that grows, like seams between drifting islands, quiet, persistent, unstoppable. This is the expansion of the universe, and you are here not just to witness it, but to feel it. Long ago, everything was close. Galaxies pressed together like dancers on a crowded floor. But with time, something mysterious began to push them apart. A strange kind of energy, invisible, quiet, yet everywhere. Astronomers call it dark energy, a name born from not knowing, but a name that fits, because it works in darkness, and it's full of secrets. You try to picture it, not as a force that yanks or tears, but as a whisper beneath space, a soft exhale from the cosmos itself. It doesn't roar, it doesn't shatter, it just encourages everything to step gently away. And yet, there's gravity, the older sibling in this cosmic family. Gravity pulls close. It binds stars into galaxies, planets into orbits, moons into song. You've met gravity before in falling apples, in ocean tides, in the tug you feel when you lift your arms against the Earth's embrace. Here in space, though, gravity does more than hold things down. It tries to slow the tide, to keep the universe from unraveling too fast. It clings to the past, to closeness, to structure, to warmth. For billions of years, gravity and dark energy have been in quiet debate, one pulling inward, one pressing outward, neither in a rush, neither cruel, just different in their dreams. And you, drifting between them, are a part of this long conversation. You reach out in your mind and imagine a galaxy, a swirl of stars, dust and stories. Now imagine another, far away. With every passing second, the space between them stretches, not because they are flying apart, but because space itself is growing, like ink blots drifting on a balloon as it inflates. The galaxies stay still, it's the canvas beneath them that expands. You think of this, not as destruction, but as quiet rearrangement. Not a ripping, but a letting go. Still the question lingers, why is this happening? No one knows for sure. Scientists measure, calculate, predict. They see the fingerprints of dark energy in distant light, in cosmic echoes, in the way supernovae grow faint. But the cause, the true essence, remains wrapped in mystery. Some say dark energy is the property of space itself, that even empty space holds a kind of pressure, a gentle insistence to become more. Others wonder if we're seeing only a slice of something far stranger, like shadows flickering from dimensions we cannot touch. But here for you, floating in this imagined sea of stars, such questions don't demand answers. They invite wonder. You feel how quiet this expansion is, how patient. From our earliest maps of galaxies to the deepest views of telescopes today, the picture is the same, everything, slowly, stretching. Galaxies that once traveled together, now drift alone, their light redshifted, tinted with the soft sadness of farewell. You picture that redshift like a lullaby in color. The longer the journey, the redder the light. It's a sign of motion, of distance, of time flowing outward, a cosmic sigh, carried on waves of starlight. But not all things drift. Not everything is swept away. Gravity still wins in places, in galaxy clusters that cling together like family, in stars that hold tight to their planets, in the atoms that make up your hands, your breath, your thoughts. Gravity, even as it loses ground to expansion, remains your anchor. So you rest between them, dark energy and gravity, like a boat between the pull of the shore and the push of the tide. You are held in place by one, moved by the other, and shaped by both. Somewhere deep in your mind, you begin to sense that this slow outward breath of space has a future, that as time unfolds, the spaces between stars will grow wider, that someday, far beyond any lifetime, galaxies will fade from view. The universe will not end in fire or collapse, but in emptiness, a quiet thinning of light. And yet, this isn't a sadness, it's a stillness, a kind of peace, because even in this expansion, the universe holds memory. Light still travels, stories still echo, and you, in your smallness, are part of a pattern that began at the beginning. You imagine space not as blackness, but as softness, not as void, but as potential. A stretchable fabric that carries the imprints of every star that ever burned. And you, still drifting, still watching, begin to wonder if the universe is expanding, if it is moving away from itself. What then is it expanding into? What lies beyond the edge of everything? What fills the space outside space? That question stays with you. A quiet echo, an invitation, a door just beginning to open. You find yourself drifting in a vast stillness. Above you, stars shimmer like cold lanterns, quietly scattered across a dark velvet sky. But something beneath the stillness is stirring, not a sound, not a tremble, but a slow motion, like breath expanding in a sleeping chest. You look outward, galaxies, delicate spirals, glowing ellipses, clusters of distant light are not standing still. They are all moving, floating away from each other in all directions, like leaves caught on a calm but widening stream. There is no center, no edge, just the spreading fabric of space itself, stretching between them. Once, astronomers thought the cosmos was fixed, a grand celestial dome that simply was. But that illusion fractured in the early 20th century. You imagine yourself at the feet of Edwin Hubble, standing beneath the dome of Mount Wilson Observatory. Through his telescope, he peered into the distant past and saw galaxies gently fleeing from ours. And more than that, the farther away they were, the faster they moved. Like dancers caught in a silent waltz, their pace increasing with distance. It was as if the universe itself were breathing out. This revelation whispered something revolutionary. The universe is expanding, but why? And from what? You glide deeper into this mystery. Picture a balloon, soft and unmarked, being slowly inflated. Tiny dots drawn on its surface begin to move apart, not because they are crawling across the balloon, but because the balloon's surface itself is stretching. Space, like that balloon, is expanding. and every galaxy rides along, carried not by motion through space, but by space itself unfolding between them. This idea is not just metaphor, it's real and measurable, observable truth. And yet, as you float in this growing vastness, another question arises. If everything is moving apart, what drives the stretching? For a long time, scientists thought it might be slowing down. After all, gravity pulls things together. Shouldn't the mutual attraction between galaxies eventually stall the expansion? Maybe even reverse it? But in 1998, two teams of astronomers peering at the gentle flickers of distant supernovae found something utterly unexpected. The universe wasn't just expanding, it was accelerating. You pause, letting that sink in. Not only are galaxies drifting apart, they're speeding up, as if pushed by some unseen hand. A silent force, woven into the vacuum itself. They called it dark energy. You picture it now, not as a wind, not as a wave, but as a stillness that stretches. A tension in the very geometry of space, causing it to expand faster and faster with time. You can't see it, you can't touch it, and yet, it accounts for nearly 70% of everything that exists. You float through this invisible tide. Try to imagine the universe as a calm ocean of dark energy, and galaxies as islands, drifting further apart on rising currents. This force doesn't work like gravity. It doesn't pull, it doesn't bind. It repels subtly, steadily making the fabric of the cosmos expand. You drift further, listening to the whisper of data redshifts, spectral lines, the bright echo of ancient supernovae. These quiet measurements speak volumes. Each flicker of light, arriving after billions of years, tells a story. The universe is not only larger than we thought, it's stranger. It's not just expanding into emptiness, it's expanding because of the emptiness. The more space there is, the more dark energy exists. And the more dark energy there is, the faster space expands, a loop soft and unstoppable, a cosmic breath that never exhales. You pause and look around again. All the galaxies once closer are now distant companions. Some will drift so far that their light will never reach us again. In trillions of years, a single galaxy may be all that remains visible to distant observers, an island in a cold, dark sea, and you, floating here, feel the quiet loneliness of a universe speeding towards solitude. But don't be afraid. This isn't chaos, it's not violence. It's the natural rhythm of a universe born to grow. The force of expansion is not a roar, but a hush. A soft pulling apart, too gentle to feel in the span of a human life, yet unmistakable over the lifetime of stars. This expansion does not affect you directly. It does not stretch the atoms in your body, or pull the earth away from the sun. Gravity, here, still holds sway. It's only in the vast near-empty spaces between galaxy clusters that dark energy dominates, where gravity grows weak and expansion takes over. You pass through one of these voids, immense and quiet, where only the thinnest fog of hydrogen drifts. No stars, no warmth, only the slow pulling of space. And here, in this cold expanse, you sense the story that scientists are still trying to understand. What is dark energy? Is it a property of space itself? Is it something new, waiting to be discovered? Or is it a shadow on our equations, pointing to a deeper reality beneath what we see? No one knows, not yet. And so, we keep watching the stars. We build new telescopes, send up satellites, gather ancient light from the furthest galaxies, all trying to trace the delicate arc of the universe's motion. Trying to see whether it will go on expanding forever, or whether someday the story might change again. You feel time stretch around you, a soft silence filled with questions. Galaxies continue their retreat, and you drift with them, listening to the quiet hum of expansion. In the beginning there was fire and closeness, now there is distance and drift. And beyond that, a whisper, a curve, a question. Somewhere ahead, the universe changes again. And maybe, just maybe, the dark will begin to shine. You drift in the stillness of space, where silence is vast and unbroken. Around you, stars flicker like distant memories, quiet, steady, and unknowable from afar. But then, A sudden bloom, a star dies, a supernova erupts into your vision, not violent in sound but radiant beyond imagination. For a few short weeks, it outshines an entire galaxy. Its light, pure and defiant, bursts outward in every direction, and you, floating calmly near its path, are not witnessing a death, but a signal, because that light, traveling through the cold corridors of the cosmos, has a story to tell. Every photon that touches your mind has crossed the darkness for eons. Some have been flying since before Earth even formed, skimming past galaxies, dodging dust, untouched by time in their own strange way. To you, it arrives at last, a message delayed, but not forgotten. You begin to understand, light is a kind of time machine. Each supernova you witness is not happening now. Not really. It's a glimpse into the past, an echo from millions or billions of years ago. The farther away the explosion, the older the light. You aren't watching the star die, but watching when it died, long ago. Light doesn't just show you where things are, it shows you when they were. And so, as you float past these glittering remnants, you realize that to look deeper into space is to look deeper into time. The edge of your vision stretches backward toward the birth of everything. This is how astronomers, like gentle time travelers, measure the age and size of the universe, not by touching distant worlds, but by watching their light. You pass through constellations that your ancestors named, their patterns etched into mythology. But here, among them, you see the truth behind the symbols. Stars shifting, aging, dying, renewing. Some of them explode and flare bright as lighthouses, standard candles, as scientists call them. A peculiar name, standard candle. Not wax, not wick, but a reliable flare in the distance, a known brightness. By knowing how bright a supernova should be, you can measure how far away it must be to appear as dim as it does. The farther the flare, the fainter it seems, the dimmer the light, the longer it has traveled. And if the light has stretched as it travels, its color shifted toward the red, like a lowering pitch, you learn something more. You learn that space itself has expanded. You breathe slowly as this realization sinks in. The stars are not merely moving. The fabric of the universe is stretching. The further out you look, the faster galaxies seem to recede. It's as if the very stage beneath all existence is growing wider between every actor. This expansion is not like a wind pushing galaxies apart. It's more like the rising of dough, where every raisin moves away from every other, not because of motion, but because of space itself growing between them. The light tells you this. It tells you that the universe once burned brighter, smaller, denser. It tells you that there was a time before galaxies, a time before stars, a time when all light was tangled tightly together in a cosmic dawn. And now, as you float quietly through the depths of night, you can see how far we've come. Each supernova is a marker, an outpost in deep time. They don't just explode and fade, they leave a trail for you to follow. A way to chart the universe's past and future, based on how their light behaves. You close your eyes, and still the light reaches you. You imagine each photon as a traveler, alone, tireless, flung from its home with purpose. It passes quasars and black holes, rides through clusters of galaxies, and keeps going until, at last, it brushes your awareness. How remarkable, you think, that light survives the journey. That after billions of years, a beam of ancient fire can still whisper truth. And this truth is more than numbers or data. It's a feeling, a connection. Light doesn't just show you stars, it shows you change, it shows you time unfolding. Even in its silence, light has a voice. A redder hue speaks of distance and velocity. A dimmed flare tells of vast separation. You begin to feel fluent in this visual language. This is why we measure the universe with light. Not because it's easy to see, but because it never forgets. The stars you see now may be gone. Their atoms scattered into nebula, or folded into black holes, but their light endures, painting a memory across the sky. You realize, every night on Earth, when you look up at the stars, you are not seeing what is. You are seeing what was. The sky is a museum of distant moments, preserved in beams of color and time. And it's not just the sky that holds light, it's you. The very atoms in your body were once forged in stars. You carry that ancient brightness within you, even if you can't see it. You and the supernova are not separate. You are kin, born of the same fire. Floating on, you watch more flares in the distance, each one a light-year tether to the history of everything. You see how clusters form and drift apart. You see how some regions of space glow warmer, while others fade into cold. The map grows clearer, one point of light at a time. And slowly, gently, a question forms in your mind. If the universe is expanding, if everything is drifting outward, if space is stretching like breath, what then lies at the edge? What waits beyond the furthest light? You lie still, eyes closed, as if the whole universe is listening too. The air around you holds a gentle silence, and somewhere in that hush, a question begins to form, not loud, not urgent, but curious, like a soft ripple in calm water. What is the shape of everything? Not of trees or clouds, but of space itself, the thing between stars, the canvas of the cosmos. You drift gently into thought, as if you're floating just above the world, high enough that land and ocean blur together beneath you. Earth looks curved from up here, a blue marble wrapped in sky. But this curve is just the beginning. Now rise higher, far beyond the pull of our planet. You pass the moon like a friend waving quietly from a distance. Past Mars, Saturn's rings, into the deep ink between stars. Out here, there is no up or down, just space, silent, still, or is it? You imagine space as a sheet wide, invisible, stretching far in every direction. At first it feels flat, like a lake before sunrise. But then you remember gravity, you remember mass, you remember Einstein whispering that space is not merely a stage where matter plays, but something matter shapes. A star bends space, a planet dimples it. A black hole folds it so deep, even light cannot return. It is not chaos, it is not random, it's a quiet, graceful dance of curvature. Imagine placing a heavy ball on a soft fabric. It sinks a little, stretching the material around it. Now roll a marble nearby. It curves toward the dip, spiraling gently inward. That fabric is space. The ball is a planet. The marble is anything drawn by gravity, even light itself. This is how the universe works, not by invisible ropes or magical forces, but by curves and folds in something that cannot be touched, yet touches everything. Space curves, but so does time. Together they weave a single fabric space-time, where the faster you move, the more time bends. Where gravity isn't pulling at you, but inviting you down into deeper layers of geometry. Lie still, and feel the idea settle. Every step you take, every second you count, happens inside this woven fabric. You are not just in the universe, you are part of its shape, and the shape is not fixed. Galaxies cluster like threads pulled together, while the empty stretches between them expand. The more you look, the more you see that space stretches, curves, even grows. You think of the universe as a balloon not because it is round, but because it expands gently, slowly, like breath drawn in. Galaxies ride the surface of this breath, not flying through space, but carried by the stretching of it. Yet some wonder, is this balloon infinite? Does it loop around like the surface of a sphere, or is it flat, like a page without end? You feel the tension between these ideas, not sharp, but soft, like a question that hasn't decided how to end. Astronomers measure ancient light to find the answer. They look at the cosmic microwave background, a quiet afterglow from the universe's first moments. And from this faint whisper, they've learned something astonishing. Space seems flat. Not perfectly, not certainly, but astonishingly close. Imagine standing on a vast ocean with no shore in sight. You cannot see the curve, but you trust it is there, beyond your vision. In the same way, the universe may curve so gently, so widely, that its bend escapes us. But what does it mean for space to be flat? It means light travels in straight lines. It means triangles behave just as they do in your geometry book. It means the fate of the cosmos rests on a delicate balance between gravity pulling in and expansion pushing out. This balance is not just poetic, it is precise. Too much matter, and space would have curved inward, folding back on itself like a sphere, dooming the universe to collapse. Too little, and it would have stretched too fast, too cold, forever apart. But the universe, it seems to rest in between. Balanced, softly tuned. This doesn't mean the universe is simple. Flatness does not mean stillness. Even now, galaxies drift. Stars burn, black holes merge. The fabric may be flat, but it ripples with energy and change like wind on a placid lake. You think again of that lake, smooth on the surface, but teeming with motion beneath. Waves rise, patterns form, and beneath it all the water holds its shape. So too does space. There are deeper layers to its story. Some scientists believe space may be curved on grander scales or twisted in ways we do not yet see. Others imagine dimensions curled up like tiny loops, far smaller than any eye can find. But for now, in this moment of still thought, you return to the question, is space curved like a bowl, or flat, like a still ocean? And you understand it may be both. Flat in its vastness, curved by its contents, still in its silence, dynamic in its unfolding. And you, lying here, are part of that fabric, just another gentle presence shaping the shape of everything. A single breath, a ripple in space-time, you rest in that thought. And as your mind softens, the next question begins to emerge, not loud, not urgent, but curious. If space bends, can time fold too? You begin in a time when gravity still held the throne. It is not a force that rushes. It waits, it weaves, it whispers in the curves of space-time. Gravity stitches galaxies into spirals, binds clusters into cosmic gatherings, and pulls the universe close like a breath drawn inward. You drift through this epoch like a falling leaf, spiraling inward with the tide of invisible threads. The universe, still young but growing, is dense and bright. Galaxies are closer than they are now. They move toward one another, pulled by the ancient longing of gravity. Space is expanding, yes, but slowly. Gravity resists, anchoring everything with its quiet strength. For a long while this is how it goes. Expansion decelerates. You can feel it in the texture of space-time, tense, resisting, slowing. But then something changes. You do not notice it at first. The shift is too slow, too soft, to alarm. Like the way night gathers at the edges of a long day, the transformation happens at the margins. A whisper at first, a nudge in the numbers, a slight mismatch in the dance of galaxies. A space between things that grows wider, not from momentum but from something else. You float in the widening. This is not the hand of gravity anymore. This is something different, not a pull but a push. The force is not known by touch, not known by sound. You do not feel it directly, but you see its signature. The galaxies that were slowing in their outward motion begin to speed up again, not toward each other, but away. Away from everything else. The universe has not only resumed expanding, it is accelerating. What kind of force does this? You drift deeper into the space between clusters, into the widening gulfs where galaxies grow more distant by the second. There is no wind here, no scream, no rupture, only quiet speed, a deepening silence that moves faster than the eye can see. You do not collide with dark energy. You dissolve into its influence. It does not grip or grasp. It loosens. This is dark energy. It has no name in your body. You cannot feel its presence on your skin. You cannot touch it, measure it in handfuls, or trap it in a bottle. But it is there, woven into the very fabric of the vacuum. A pressure, negative in direction but positive in power, that grows stronger as space itself grows wider. You look back. Galaxies are no longer coming together. Some will, in small pockets, where gravity still wins locally. But the grand stage has shifted. Now, the universe stretches faster than it ever did before. The The galaxies you see tonight are moving away from each other, not because of their own energy, but because the space between them is being pulled open, more and more by this strange dark presence. The fabric of reality is expanding beneath them, and the more it expands, the stronger this force becomes. Imagine a balloon, not because it pops, but because of how its surface stretches with every breath. Now imagine the air in that balloon is not coming from the outside, but being generated by the balloon itself. That's what dark energy does. It doesn't fill space, it is the thing that makes more space. You hover beside two galaxies, once neighbors. You measure the distance between them. It increases. You wait. It increases more, not linearly, not predictably, but faster, always faster. And in this acceleration, a question forms: what is dark energy? You listen, but the universe doesn't offer an answer. It offers a pattern, a rhythm. Perhaps it is a property of empty space, a kind of pressure that comes with nothingness itself. Perhaps it is something even more unfamiliar, like a new kind of energy field, unknown and vast. Or perhaps it is not a thing at all, but a shadow in our equations, what we see when we do not yet understand. You float in the mystery. This chapter of the cosmos belongs to the quiet force, not explosive, not destructive, not even assertive. It simply is, a background hum that grows louder, only because the silence grows larger, and it changes everything. Left unchecked, dark energy does not allow the universe to stay close. It forbids reunion. It unhooks the gravitational threads one by one, not cruelly, but relentlessly. Stars will still burn, galaxies will still twirl, but in time, even light from distant places will no longer reach us, not because it fades, but because the space it travels through is growing too fast. You picture that future, a night sky with fewer stars, a silence that deepens beyond sound, a cosmic loneliness written not in sorrow but in space itself. And yet this too is beautiful, because in the grand unfolding, you sense a truth deeper than gravity, that the universe does not cling, it evolves, it lets go, it widens its arms, it makes room for what comes next, even if that means drifting apart. And as you float farther from the clusters, into the smooth expanding emptiness, you begin to feel the quiet logic of it all. Gravity gathered the world, but dark energy frees it, not abruptly, not violently, but slowly, like a breath held longer and longer, until release becomes inevitable. You watch the great stretch of space grow calm, cold and still, and somewhere ahead, beyond the galaxies, beyond the noise, you sense another question waiting. What happens if this expansion never stops? What if it grows so fast that even time itself begins to break apart? You lie still, wrapped in the hush of the cosmos. The stars don't whisper answers, they breathe questions. And tonight, you follow the faint breath of one of the greatest mysteries in the universe. Dark energy, not to solve it, not to define it, but to drift beside it and feel its presence for what it might be. Above you, space stretches in every direction. The galaxies drift away, slowly at first, then faster, and faster still. It's as if something invisible is pulling them apart or pushing them, gently but insistently. This isn't gravity. Gravity pulls things together. But this is the opposite. You feel it in your chest, like a breath expanding, that never quite stops. Dark energy, a name given to a silence we can't explain. It's not dark like shadows. It's dark like mystery. And it's not energy, like lightning or heat. It's something else. You float through this question, weightless in thought, and scientists appear around you, not as voices of certainty, but as wanderers too, heads tilted toward the stars. One wonders aloud, could it be a property of the vacuum itself? The space between stars, between atoms, even between the particles inside your body, it is never truly empty. It seethes with possibilities, virtual particles bubbling in and out of existence like soft sparks. Maybe, just maybe, this vacuum energy has a gentle pressure, one that pushes outward, not strongly, not suddenly, but constantly, like a hum that never fades. You picture it now, space itself, humming with invisible tension, like a quiet fabric being gently pulled. It's the fabric's nature, and this pull, so quiet we only noticed it by watching galaxies move, is what we now call dark energy. Another voice joins in, another scientist, eyes closed as if seeing something far away. Or maybe, they whisper, it's a field. A cosmic field, like the Higgs field. A kind of energy spread thinly across all of space, slow-moving, undetectable, but real. You imagine it like a cloud, vast, invisible, filling every corner of the universe. You swim through it now. It's not cold, it's not warm, it simply is. It doesn't resist you, this field. It doesn't push you forward or hold you back. But over time, across billions of years, its presence makes space swell like a deep inhale, held in the lungs of the cosmos. Others have different thoughts. Some speak of the cosmological constant, Einstein's quiet term, once dismissed, now revived. He had placed it there reluctantly, a mathematical patch to keep the universe static. But the universe wasn't still, it was expanding. And when we saw it speeding up, we dusted off Einstein's constant, and it started to make sense again. So many ideas, none proven, all possible, and all of them stretch your mind gently. Not like a race toward the finish line, but like watching clouds change shape. You lie back into this cloud of possibility, and it welcomes you. There's no need to decide tonight. No need to grasp at truth like a prize. Instead, you observe, you feel, you wonder. Your body relaxes further, your breath slows. You imagine what it means that 68% of the entire universe, more than stars, gas, planets, even dark matter, is made of something we can't see, can't touch, can't even define, yet it shapes the universe. And that alone makes it beautiful. Dark energy is not a villain, nor a savior. It doesn't roar. It doesn't crash. It simply is. A presence woven into space itself, an unseen breath that turns galaxies into dancers, spinning slowly apart. And you, tiny as you may feel, are a part of that breath. You exist inside that expansion. You are made of the same story. And what of the future? You wonder, if dark energy continues, if space stretches faster and faster, what becomes of it all? Some say galaxies will drift too far to see one another. Some say stars will burn out in solitude, a slow fading, a long quiet dimming. But even that is not frightening here. Not now. Not with your thoughts so soft and your breathing so slow. Because endings too are part of stories, and every horizon hides something new behind it. Maybe even answers, or just more beautiful questions. So you float in the silence between certainties. You rest in the comfort of not knowing. And in that gentle space, something begins to settle. Not clarity, but peace. The mystery isn't a problem to be solved. It's a place to rest your thoughts. A vast sky of maybe. A soft sea of could be. And as your eyes close, real or imagined, you feel something important. Not everything must be known to be meaningful. Not every silence is empty. Some silences hum, like the space around you. Like the vacuum that may not be still. Like the field that might be pulling. Like dark energy, whatever it truly is, breathing the universe wide. And in the spaces between stars, you float a little longer. You drift not toward answers, but toward the next wonder, where another puzzle awaits, equally quiet, equally strange, equally beautiful. The galaxies recede, the stars soften, and just before sleep comes you wonder, what shape is space itself, really? Is it curved, flat, infinite? You feel the question unfold gently like a map in the wind, and so we turn to that next mystery, to trace the shape of space. You drift now, not through a forest, not through a sea, but through time itself, deep, deep, into the farthest reaches of the universe's lifespan. The stars behind you grow faint, their shimmer dulled by distance, not only in space, but in age. You are a quiet passenger, on the timeline of everything. And now, you've arrived at a moment so far ahead, Even memory itself feels irrelevant. All around you, darkness. But not the kind that holds mystery. This is a different dark, soft, stretched, spacious. The galaxies are still there, but fewer now and further apart. You reach for them with your mind, but their light no longer reaches you. Space has expanded so far, so fast, that their glow has slipped beyond your cosmic horizon. It's like watching campfires being swallowed by fog in every direction, one by one, until you stand alone in the cool quiet. The stars are dying, you see, not suddenly, not tragically, but in the most patient way the cosmos knows how. They burn through their fuel, slow and noble, until they exhaust their light. Red dwarfs, the slowest burning candles in the universe, are the last to go. Their flicker was faint but long-lived, and now, even they have dimmed into silence. You hover beside a cold, quiet planet, circling a dead sun. There's no wind here, no birdsong, no water rushing through stone, just the patient hum of entropy, everything moving towards sameness. The planet doesn't mourn, it simply is, just like everything else in this chapter of the cosmos. Above you, space continues to stretch. Galaxies that once danced in spirals, colliding and embracing in great cosmic ballets, now sit too far apart to ever meet again. Gravity, that intimate force, the great sculptor of structure, loses its influence across these expanding reaches. It's like watching two lovers drift apart on a slowly inflating balloon. Eventually, they're not just far, they're beyond reach. Black holes remain for a time, like dark punctuation marks in the fading sentence of the universe. They quietly hold on, but even they are not forever. Hawking radiation, a soft whisper of physics, causes them to evaporate, particle by particle, breath by breath. Over trillions upon trillions of years, they fade like everything else, until even those ancient anchors have vanished. Time still passes, but it feels different, not as a ticking clock or a rising sun, but as a steady, slow loosening, a relaxation of everything into a state of pure equilibrium. Temperature evens out, energy disperses, motion calms, no more eruptions, no more bursts, just quiet. This, scientists say, might be the heat death of the universe. But don't let the name alarm you. It's not violent, not a fiery end. It's more like a fading breath, a gentle exhale after a long and brilliant life. The universe doesn't crash, it coasts. You feel its stillness now. Not silence that is empty, but silence that is full of memory, full of meaning. This is the afterglow of existence, the slow unwinding of all things into symmetry. There is peace in it, even beauty, but also a strange loneliness. You reach out with your thoughts again. Is anything left to change? Is the universe truly done? And yet, deep within the mathematics, there are murmurs, tiny fluctuations in the vacuum, the faint possibility of quantum oddities, of new beginnings wrapped inside old endings, a new bubble universe, perhaps, or a flicker of unstable symmetry that births something else, somewhere, someday. It's not a promise, just a whisper, just a maybe. But maybe is enough. You let the thought rise like steam from still water, soft, ungraspable, but warm. Maybe the story doesn't end here. Maybe it curves inward, or loops back, or blooms in a different dimension. Maybe entropy, though vast, is not the only author of fate. And maybe, even in the coldest corners of time, something unexpected still stirs. You linger in this vast quiet, listening, waiting, feeling the slow breath of a universe not dying, but dissolving like a dream upon waking. And as you drift further, a question begins to form at the edges of your awareness. If this is the great fade, what lies beyond even this stillness? What could follow after everything ends? You drift, not falling but floating, through the dark velvet of space. This time, the darkness doesn't feel empty. It feels wide, like a breath held in the lungs of the cosmos. Not waiting to exhale, but simply being. You are weightless, bodiless, consciousness only, a quiet witness to the unfolding fabric of everything. Above you, below you, around you. There is no up or down, no floor to stand on, no ceiling to reach, just depth. infinite, unending depth. And though you see no walls, you sense the room expanding, gently, constantly, unhurried and certain, as though the universe is still stretching from the moment of its birth. Once, this place was unfamiliar. You saw it as cold, silent and still, but now you know better. Stillness here is not nothingness. It is not death. It is potential. You move through it like a feather on a breath of wind, and in this dark the stars no longer seem scattered. They seem connected, like fireflies, tracing a deeper shape into the vastness. Behind you lies the path you've walked, through gravity's whispers and the time-bending folds of relativity, through the seething cores of stars and the glimmer of molecules becoming life. You've traced the spine of galaxies and followed the curl of light through black holes. And now, you return, not backward, but inward, toward the quiet between stars. At first glance, interstellar space appears empty, a void between destinations, but in truth, it is the canvas. In every cubic centimeter of this dark, there is more than absence. There are particles, ghostly, rare, but present. Atoms of hydrogen drift like forgotten letters in a bottle. Light from distant galaxies stretches past you, elongated by time, softened by distance, redshifted into invisibility. You are swimming through this, an ocean so diffuse you cannot feel its waves, and yet it moves around you, expands with you, expands through you. Once, you learned that the universe is not expanding into anything. There is no outer shell, no edge to cross. Space itself is growing, like the surface of a balloon inflating, not outward into a room, but simply stretching, every point moving away from every other. Galaxies are not flying away through space. Space is flowing between them, and that flow carries the galaxies like boats on a rising tide. Even here, where gravity's pull is faint and the stars are far, that expansion never stops. You listen closely. Can you hear it? It is a whisper too slow for ears, a motion too smooth for the senses. It is the reason why, when you look at ancient light, you find it cooled, spread thin like honey poured onto a vast invisible table. It is why the afterglow of the Big Bang, the cosmic microwave background, reaches you not as fire, but as faint warmth, gentle radio waves softly lapping at the edge of your perception. The darkness you float in is not static. It is a sea with no shore, no floor, no ceiling, only current, and you for this moment are still. This stillness is not the stillness of silence. It is the stillness of being present, like the pause between heartbeats, like the hush before dawn. You are surrounded by galaxies, too far to see clearly, but their gravity nudges you gently. You can feel them, like distant drums through a thick forest. They speak of clusters and filaments, threads that lace the universe into structure. From afar, it looks like a web, a cosmic lattice. And you remember now, even this emptiness, even this space between stars has structure. The dark is not blank, it is scaffold. You once thought space was a vacuum, but it is better to call it a field, a stage on which everything plays its part. Quantum fields ripple here, even where no particles seem to be. Virtual particles flicker in and out of existence, in blinks too fast to follow. For a fleeting instant, energy becomes matter, then returns again, borrowing from the uncertainty written into the laws of everything. What you once imagined as silence is actually a background hum, the low, steady music of existence itself. This hum carries the story of the universe, not in words but in motion, in direction. In drift, you think again of expansion, how even now, galaxies accelerate away from one another, how the emptiest parts of space are still stretching, pulled by something you can't see, driven by something not yet fully understood. Dark energy. You cannot touch it, yet it accounts for most of everything. It doesn't clump or gather, it doesn't shine, but it shapes the future. It is the reason the universe's expansion is speeding up instead of slowing down, and yet it feels gentle, not like an explosion, but like breath. Somewhere inside this motion is a secret, The more the universe expands, the colder and more quiet it will become. One day, far in the future, stars will fade, galaxies will grow too distant to see. But that is not today, that is not to now. Now, you are here, in this quiet moment, feeling the breath of everything pass softly around you. You have returned to where you began, but with open eyes. The stillness now feels alive, pregnant with meaning, spacious with promise. You are not a stranger to it anymore, you are part of it. The elements that formed your body were born in stars long gone. The space between stars is not separate from you. It is what you move through, what holds you, what surrounds your every thought and dream. The more you learn, the quieter you become. You begin to understand stillness is not the opposite of motion. It is the home of motion. It is what allows it. It is the place from which all things emerge, and to which they quietly return. You close your eyes, not to sleep, but to feel more deeply. In this silence, you sense a question forming, one that tugs softly at the edge of your awareness. If space is expanding, if the universe is drifting apart, then where did it all begin? And more curiously, how? You feel yourself pulled not by gravity, but by wonder, gently floating toward the idea of a beginning, of the very first moment when everything came into being. A beginning not in place but in time. The silence deepens, and with it the question,